hardest I ever laughed was I was on acid, and
Is acid like an 8-hour adventure? What is
it was
that?
like 8 hours. And this is so stupid. I don't know if you think this is funny or not, but
I already like it.
fucking in the kitchen with my friend, my best friend, and he's just like, we're just laughing. He's like, like everything's so funny. And he's just like goes to eat a banana, and he goes and he gets the banana, and he's eating the banana, and we're laughing, and he's just fucking, and then he throws the banana peel on the ground.
Yeah.
And he's like, and he motions to be like,
Like
oh, like I'm gonna slip.
Yeah.
And then like 2 seconds later, he forgot it was there, and he did slip. And we were like, oh my god!
To get to find out that's a real thing.
That's a real thing. Like a banana peel is slippery.
Oh man,
That's the hardest I ever laughed.
That might break me.
What's the hardest you ever laughed?
Oh man,
You know the hardest I ever laughed? Another one. I was at a movie theater once. I wasn't on mushrooms or anything. And this is just straight. And it's just like a preview comes on. And it just goes like, from the depths of the jungle comes a man. So you think it's like this like action thing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like Jim Carrey pops up. And he's like,
Ace Ventura 2?
It's like Pet Detective 2.
Oh, yeah.
That's the hardest I ever laughed. I thought that was so fucking funny. South Park movie in the theater.
Oh, yeah.
Hardest I ever laughed.
Also, Team America.
Team America is hilarious.
Team America, I died laughing. One of my favorite movie experiences actually was going to see Jackass when it first came out in
Jackass
theaters.
is so fucking funny.
And I went kind of being like, it's a movie, but like, what? We're going to watch Jackass, which everyone, this is when it was like peaking. Everyone loved it.
Yeah.
For that first movie. And I remember like all of us in the theater losing our shit at the same stuff. And I was like, oh my God, this is the most fun way to watch this with a massive amount of people.
Yes.
I kind of got reminded of that when Mad Max Fury Road came out. In that first half of it where they're going away from the thing. And so that whole sequence that was like half an hour, maybe more, when it comes to an end, the whole theater applauded like that was the most beautiful art they'd ever seen. And I was like, oh my God, I'm in a room right now where we are all on the exact same page of sitting here going, that was badass. That was amazing. Fucking cool as shit.
After you taped your special, did you feel that way? Like when I watched your special, I was like, wow, like the crowd is like really popping and like, they were fucking.
They were great.
Belly laughing.
It was
so loud.
They were awesome. Yeah.
Did you feel that way after you taped it? Like, wow, like
a little bit. I felt. I definitely had so much fun. Like we did 2 shows, and the very first show, I really just did the show as I'd been touring it and as I wrote it. Like my goal with this particular special was, I want to do the work I've always known that I've needed to learn how to do, and I've never done it. Yeah. And that was getting up at 6 a.m. and going to a coffee shop, getting decaf Americano, because if it's caffeinated, I get too twitchy and I want to leave the coffee shop. So I was like, I need to sit here and think I'm drinking coffee.
Yeah.
So decaf Americano, and I would put on my headphones, get out the notebook, and I would work on jokes I already have.
Yeah.
And I never really did that before because I always thought you go to the coffee shop and people sit and they write. And I could never do that because ideas just don't come to me at that point. And so I've thought my whole career, I just don't do that. And then finally I went and sat down and I was like, oh my God, I'm such a fucking idiot. I should have been here editing the whole time. It wasn't about writing. It was about listening to what you already have and getting rid of it and moving it around and what makes sense. And for the first time in my whole career, I really was able to quickly tighten up a lot of jokes that I didn't know could really just be one big joke. I didn't realize it. And so that felt amazing. And so that was what I toured, and it tightened up, and I found tags and I added stuff as I toured, as you do. And then when it was time to shoot the special, I was like, all right, let's not do what I always do, which is fuck around. I don't mind fucking around, but I would always do it too much. So that first show, I basically did the act, and I dropped one joke, and I was so mad that I dropped one joke because I felt like it was a perfect show. And then everybody in the green room between the 2 shows that are working on it, they were like, dude, that's perfect. They're like, we got it. They're like, we got it, like start to finish. And I go, I feel that way too. I just got to make sure I get that one joke in the next show so we can edit that in and we can just slide it in.
Yeah.
So I've just got to make sure I get that one joke. And so that was my only focus. And I walked out there and I was about to start the show, and there was something fucked about the curtain. So the space between the guy opening the show and then everything getting quiet and them saying action, here we go, was taking like 10 minutes.
Oh, no.
And I was like right there waiting. And I was like, oh man, this is like when you're ready to do it and then it's stalling and that changes your mental everything.
Like
so in my head I
star.
go, hey, stay in it, come on.
Yeah.
You're taping it. Yeah. Stay optimistic, stay positive. This is not the end of the world. Just shut the fuck up and just be fine.
Yeah.
And anyways, I went out and I kind of, someone had kind of interrupted the show and I riffed with it and I did something. I kind of forgot where I was at in the show. I got out my note cards and the show became so fun that the special is mostly the second show.
Wow.
With like 2 or 3 moments from the first show where the joke just kind of did better or I didn't trip up on a word. But the bulk of it is the second show, which crazily is a lot of me fucking around.
Wow.
With me doing the act as it should be. And when I sat down and I looked at it and cut it up, I was like, this is the best example of who I actually am. I go, I'm not the straightforward written guy.
Yeah.
I liked that I was able to do that. I go, but this is who I am. I like having the
You're
jokes.
so smart
but
to
I
do
like
that.
fucking around and like
because
the
that's
second
what I
show was
loved
just
about it.
another show. I mean, I was doing stuff that I just hadn't done. I was allowing myself to improvise more freely because I was like, if it bombs, we just fucking cut it out.
Yeah.
This audience will be the only ones that know that joke didn't work. I go, so release yourself of the expectation, knowing we're gonna fucking cut it up anyways. And because of that, I think it led to a better show.
It's what makes it like special to you.
Yeah,
Like, that's what I loved about it. I was like, oh, it's like he's like, because when I used to see you perform around town, I was like, that was my favorite part, like kind of the absurdness.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah,
I think so. I think there's an
just, like,
absurdity
fucking around
to it.
the
It's like
absurdity.
abstract. It's in the moment.
Yeah.
The downside of that in the moment stuff, the upside and downside. The upside is that audience and you get to be like, oh man, we really did something at this moment in time and it's really special. The downside is you rarely can repeat it in the same way. Sometimes you can't at all because it makes no sense.
Yeah.
It only made sense in that moment. But and sometimes you can repeat it. It just doesn't have the same luster.
Yeah.
And it's weird because when you improvise your jokes, it's going to have the most luster probably that first time. Yeah. Whereas when you and I write jokes, you go, oh, it'll probably get its luster when I've done it 50 times. That's when I'll have it perfectly shined. And so it's almost like the opposite effect, where to me it's like, oh, if you improvise it, it only kind of goes down. But if you're writing it and trying it out, it can only get better.
Right.
You know?
It's funny. I went and saw Tony Hinchcliffe's stand up.
Oh, yeah.
We saw that like a month ago. My wife's a huge fan.
Where was his show?
He did a show downtown at the Ace Hotel.
Oh, yeah, right.
And then Sunday night we went to the YouTube theater and we saw Kill Tony.
The Kill Tony, yeah.
And so different.
Yeah.
You know, just so, and his stand-up's great. We loved it. But Kill Tony is just like, it's just this, they ride this wave of, and they do a lot of callbacks and and it's so in the moment and it's so like, wow, like what's gonna happen?
Right.
And that's the only thing I can really compare it to.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I like, what we do. It's just not a team sport.
Yeah.
And when you can make it one, which really, honestly, right now, it's like a podcast is a great way for stand-up comedians to be able to do it.
Yeah.
To like, hey, look how we can comedically create together. I love it. I love it because when you go out and you crush, like that is really fun. Mm-hmm. But when you crush and you come off stage and you talk about it, now you're a fucking narcissist. And you're like, but the reality is you just kind of want to celebrate and decompress, but you can't